Sometimes, even the richest man can look at his own life and feel completely empty. That night, Desmond Adams, the man the city called the golden genius of business, sat alone in his study, surrounded by everything he had worked his whole life to earn. The sprawling mansion, the shimmering chandeliers, the polished marble floors, they all reflected success. Yet behind every reflection was a man questioning everything. Desmond Adams was known for his intelligence, his hard work, his perfect manners. People respected him everywhere he went. But respect and peace are not the same thing, and Desmond hadn't felt peace in years. He sat at his desk on the second floor, staring at a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. So cold the steam had disappeared hours ago. Rain whispered faintly against the glass windows, the steady rhythm sounding like a heartbeat left behind by the night. Desmond's broad shoulders, his calm gray eyes, the faint scar near his temple, all were hardened symbols of a man who had survived everything life had thrown at him. Everything except the doubts growing silently in his own home. His wife, Monica, 35, beautiful as the sunrise, a woman whose laughter could make any man turn his head. When they had married 7 years before, Desmond believed he had found the one person who saw the man behind the money. He could still remember their wedding day, their vows spoken under crystal lights, her tears glimmering on her lashes as she promised to love him, for better or worse, richer or poorer. He had held her hands tightly, believing in every word. But years had changed things. Slowly, carefully, like frost spreading over glass, Monica no longer reached for his hand when they walked through their garden. Her smile had become something she put on like lipstick. Beautiful, practiced, but missing warmth. These days, her joy came not from time with him, but from the clink of jewelry boxes and the glow of her phone screen. Last week, Desmond came home early, something he rarely did. He hadn't meant to eavesdrop. He was just walking past the living room when he heard her voice. The sound of her laughter hit him first. It was light, alive, and careless, the kind of laughter she hadn't shared with him in months. And then her words came, sharp and cruel, slicing through the calm. "Girl, I can't take it anymore," Monica had said to someone over the phone. "He's so boring these days. Always working, always talking about budgets. Where's the fun, the spark? Sometimes I wonder why I'm even still here." Desmond stopped, frozen in place. Every word landed like a strike to the chest. His briefcase slipped slightly in his hand, but he didn't move. Then her voice grew quieter, almost pitying. "And the way he watches me, like I'm a thief. I'm so tired of pretending." Desmond couldn't listen any longer. He turned away, walked back outside and waited beside his car until the sting behind his eyes disappeared. When he re-entered the house, he made sure to close the front door loudly enough for her to hear. And just like that, Monica greeted him with a smile, soft and warm, the perfect wife again. Watching her switch faces so fast made his stomach turn. That night, while she slept soundly beside him, Desmond stared at the ceiling, asking himself over and over if her love had ever been real. Then came the message. 3 days later, sunlight spilled gently over the marble breakfast counter. Monica hummed upstairs, changing into her third outfit of the morning. Her phone buzzed once. Desmond happened to glance at it without thinking, and the words glowed across the screen as if they had been written for the sole purpose of destroying him. "Once he's gone, we'll have everything to ourselves. Just be patient," he blinked. "Once he's gone." Gone where? Who was we? The message came from someone saved simply as M. 2 letters stripped of any identity, clean, deliberate, and chilling. For several long seconds, Desmond couldn't move. The world felt unreal. Then he heard footsteps on the stairs. Monica was coming back. In panic, he placed the phone exactly where he'd found it, his hands shaking so badly he nearly dropped it. By the time she came into the room, he was standing at the sink with a forced calm, pretending to rinse his cup. But inside, every part of him was screaming. All day the message echoed in his mind, a whisper he couldn't silence. "Once he's gone." The words played again and again until night fell like a black curtain. Finally, Desmond did something he rarely did. He called his younger sister Grace. Grace Adams was the kind of woman who could walk into any boardroom and command silence. At 38, she was strong, sharp, and unshakable. Her job as a lawyer had trained her to read lies like sheet music. When she arrived at Desmond's mansion, hair damp from the rain, her eyes were already flashing with concern. She had never liked Monica. Fake smiles, she had called them years ago. That woman loves your world, not your soul. Now she sat in front of her brother's desk, the phone screen glowing between them. She read the message, and her face hardened. "Who is M?" she asked quietly. "I don't know," Desmond said, his voice shaking. "But whoever it is, they know her." They know everything about us. Grace exhaled through her nose, anger and fear mixing in her eyes. Des, this doesn't sound like a fling. This sounds like a plan. Desmond pressed his palms against his temples. If I confront her, she'll lie. She always lies, Grace. I need to see the truth with my own eyes. For a long moment, neither of them said anything. Outside, the rain grew heavier, streams running down the windows like tears. Finally, Grace spoke again, her tone lower. Then test her. Desmond looked up slowly. What? Test her, Grace repeated, leaning forward, each word deliberate. You've spent years believing her lies. You deserve to know the truth. The only way she'll ever show you who she is if she thinks she doesn't have to pretend anymore. Take yourself out of the picture. Let her world fall silent, and then watch what she does. Desmond stared at her, his breath catching. You're saying I should pretend to die? Grace didn't blink. Yes, the word hung in the air like a ghost. The clock ticked twice before anyone breathed again. Desmond finally shook his head. That's madness. So is the idea that your wife could be planning something worse, Grace said sharply, gesturing at the phone. Maybe she's cheating. Maybe she's plotting against you. Either way, she's already halfway gone, Desmond. Her voice softened slightly. If she truly loves you, she'll grieve. She'll defend your name. If she doesn't, you'll finally see who she really is. Desmond walked to the window, staring at the shadows of the rain. Somewhere deep inside him, something broke, and something else hardened. He had built his empire by uncovering hidden truths, by seeing what others refused to see. Maybe now it was time to look at his own life with the same precision. He turned slowly, his reflection wavering in the glass behind him. If I do this, he said finally, voice low, I'll need help. I can't disappear and make it look real without a plan. Grace nodded. I'll help with everything. And we should bring in Dr. Paul. He's your doctor. He can make it look convincing. Dr. Paul Thompson had been Desmond's physician for 15 years. More than that, he was a trusted friend, a man of honor and discretion. If anyone could help make this work, it was Paul. Desmond turned from the window and looked at his sister. This was the biggest decision of his entire life. Once he started down this road, there would be no turning back. Okay, he finally whispered. Let's do it. Let's find out who my wife really is. Grace stood and hugged her brother tightly. I'm sorry, Desmond. I'm sorry it has to be this way. Me too. At that exact moment, they heard Monica's laughter floating up from downstairs. She was on the phone again, her voice light and musical. She sounded happy, carefree, like a woman without a single problem in the world. She sounded like a woman with secrets. And Desmond was about to uncover every single one. The test was about to begin. A test that would expose the truth, shatter lies, and change everything forever. Nobody, not Monica, not Desmond, not even Grace, could imagine what was about to happen next. The next morning, Desmond woke up with a heavy feeling in his chest. He had barely slept. All night long, he kept thinking about what he was about to do. Fake his own death. Just thinking those words made him feel strange. Normal people didn't do things like this. Normal people talked to their wives. They went to marriage counseling. They worked things out. But this wasn't a normal situation, and Desmond needed answers that talking couldn't give him. Monica was still asleep beside him, her face peaceful and beautiful. Looking at her now, it was hard to believe she could be planning anything bad. She looked innocent, sweet, like the woman he had fallen in love with all those years ago. But Desmond knew better now. He had learned that people could wear masks. They could smile on the outside while plotting on the inside. He got out of bed quietly and went downstairs. The mansion felt too big and too empty, even though it was filled with expensive furniture and beautiful things. Jason, the driver, was already awake in the kitchen making coffee. Good morning, sir, Jason said with a warm smile. You're up early. Couldn't sleep, Desmond replied honestly. Jason looked at him with concern. Is everything okay, Mr. Adams? Desmond wanted to tell him everything. Jason had been loyal for years. He was more than just a driver. He was a friend, but Desmond couldn't involve him, not yet. The fewer people who knew about the plan, the better. Everything's fine, Jason, just work stress, Desmond lied. Jason didn't look convinced, but he nodded and poured Desmond a cup of hot coffee. An hour. Later, Grace arrived at the mansion. She came through the back entrance so Monica wouldn't see her. They had agreed to keep their meeting secret from now on. Desmond met her in his office and closed the door. I brought someone, Grace said. Behind her, Dr. Paul Thompson walked in. He was 50 years old with gray hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He had been Desmond's doctor since Desmond was 30. More importantly, he was someone Desmond trusted completely. Desmond, Dr. Paul said, shaking his hand. Grace told me everything. Are you sure you want to do this? Desmond took a deep breath. I need to know the truth, Paul. I can't live like this anymore. Always wondering, always suspicious. If Monica loves me, this will prove it. If she doesn't, he couldn't finish the sentence. Dr. Paul sat down looking serious. All right, if we're going to do this, we need to do it perfectly. One mistake and the whole thing falls apart. Grace pulled out a notebook. I've been thinking about it all night. Here's what we need to do. For the next 2 hours, the three of them planned every single detail. The plan was this. Desmond would go on a business trip, something he did often so Monica wouldn't suspect anything. He would drive himself, which was unusual, but he would tell Monica that Jason needed time off for a family emergency. On the highway about 2 hours outside the city, Desmond would stage a car accident. Dr. Paul would help make it look real. They would use a remote location where there were no security cameras. The car would catch fire. Not a real fire, but enough smoke and damage to make it look convincing. Desmond would leave his wedding ring in the car, partially melted so the police could identify his body. But there would be no body. Desmond would escape before anyone arrived. Dr. Paul would create fake medical reports saying the body was burned beyond recognition and that dental records confirmed it was Desmond Adams. It sounded like something from a movie. Crazy, impossible, dangerous, but it could work. Where will you stay while you're dead? Dr. Paul asked. I own a small apartment downtown under a different name, Desmond explained. I bought it years ago as an investment. Nobody knows about it. Not even Monica. I can hide there and watch everything that happens. How will you watch? Grace asked. Desmond pulled out his phone and showed them. I installed security cameras all around this house 6 months ago. Small ones hidden. They record everything. The living room, the bedroom, Monica's office, even the front gate. The footage goes straight to my phone. I can see and hear everything from anywhere. Grace raised her eyebrows. You installed cameras 6 months ago? So you've been suspicious for that long? Desmond nodded sadly. I didn't want to believe it. But yes, I've had doubts for a while now. Have you seen anything suspicious on the cameras? Dr. Paul asked. Not yet. Monica's been careful, but once she thinks I'm gone. Desmond's voice trailed off. Once she thinks you're gone, she'll stop being careful. Grace finished. She'll show her true self. Dr. Paul stood up and paced the room. This is risky, Desmond. If Inyon finds out what we did, we could all go to jail. Faking a death is a serious crime. I know, Desmond said quietly, and I'm not asking you to risk yourself. If you don't want to help, I understand. Dr. Paul stopped pacing and looked at his old friend. I've known you for 15 years, Desmond. You're one of the best men I've ever met. If your wife is plotting something terrible, then you have every right to protect yourself. I'll help you. Desmond felt relief wash over him. Thank you, Paul. When do we do this? Grace asked. Desmond thought for a moment. Soon. This week. I'll tell Monica tomorrow that I have an emergency business meeting in another city. The sooner we do this, the less chance something goes wrong. They spent another hour going over every tiny detail. What Desmond would wear. What he would pack. How Dr. Paul would handle the police and the medical reports. How Grace would support Monica publicly while secretly reporting everything back to Desmond. Finally, when everything was planned, Dr. Paul and Grace left through the back entrance, one at a time, so no one would see them together. Desmond sat alone in his office, staring at his hands. In a few days, Desmond Adams would be dead. And everyone, his friends, his business partners, his employees, and his wife would believe it. Everyone except the 3 people who knew the truth. Desmond picked up a small photo from his desk. It was from his wedding day. Monica looked so happy in that picture, her arms around him, her smile bright and real. Or had it been fake even then? Soon he would know. The last normal day. The next morning, Desmond told Monica about the business trip. They were having breakfast together, something that rarely happened anymore. Monica was on her phone as usual, scrolling through social media and barely touching her food. Monica, Desmond said gently. She looked up, surprised that he was speaking to her. Yes, I have to go on a business trip this Friday. There's an important deal I need to close in person. Monica's eyes lit up slightly. Oh, how long will you be gone? Just a few days, maybe a week. Okay, Monica said, already looking back at her phone. She didn't ask where he was going or what the deal was about. She didn't seem to care. Desmond felt a sharp pain in his chest. Once upon a time, Monica would have been worried about him traveling. She would have packed his suitcase and kissed him goodbye and told him to call her every night. Now, she just said, okay, without even looking at him. I'll be driving myself, Desmond added. Jason needs time off for family emergency. This time Monica did look up. You're driving yourself? That's unusual. It's fine. I like driving sometimes. Gives me time to think. Monica shrugged. Whatever you want. Then she stood up, leaving her food half-eaten. I'm going shopping with Sarah today. I'll need some money. Of course she would. She always needed money. Desmond pulled out his wallet and handed her his credit card without a word. Monica took it, kissed him quickly on the cheek. A kiss that felt cold and empty, and walked away already texting someone on her phone. Desmond sat alone at the breakfast table, surrounded by luxury and elegance, feeling more lonely than he had ever felt in his entire life. That afternoon, Desmond did something he had been avoiding. He went to his company office to prepare for his death. He called his lawyer, Mr. Harrison, a serious man with sharp eyes and a reputation for being completely trustworthy. "Mr. Harrison, I need to update my will," Desmond said, sitting across from him in the lawyer's office. Mr. Harrison pulled out some papers. "Of course, Mr. Adams. What changes would you like to make? If something happens to me, if I die, I want everything to be frozen for 60 days before anyone can access it. No money, no property, nothing. For 2 months, everything stays exactly as it is." Mr. Harrison frowned. "That's unusual. May I ask why?" Desmond had prepared for this question. "I want to make sure that if something happens to me, it's clearly an accident and not something else. I want the police to have time to investigate thoroughly." Mr. Harrison's frown deepened. "Mr. Adams, are you in some kind of danger?" "Just being careful," Desmond said with a calm smile. "You know how business is. There are people who would benefit from my death. I want to make sure my wife is protected and that nothing suspicious happens to my estate." This seemed to satisfy Mr. Harrison. "Very wise. I'll draw up the papers immediately." 2 hours later, Desmond signed the new will. Now if he died, Monica couldn't touch any of his money or property for 60 days. It would give him time to watch her to see what she would do to gather evidence. It would also protect him if Monica really was planning something terrible. That evening, Desmond came home to find Monica getting ready for a party. She wore a tight red dress that sparkled under the lights and diamond earrings that he had bought her for their anniversary last year. "Where are you going?" Desmond asked. "Sarah's birthday party. I told you about it last week." Monica looked at him in the mirror while putting on lipstick. "You said you didn't want to come." Desmond didn't remember her telling him about any party, but it didn't matter now. "What time will you be back?" "Light, don't wait up." Monica grabbed her purse and walked past him without a goodbye kiss. Desmond watched her leave, hearing the sound of her high heels clicking down the stairs, then the front door closing, then her car driving away. He was alone in the big house. Desmond went to his office and opened his laptop. The security camera footage was right there showing every room in the house. He could see the empty living room, the quiet kitchen, the bedroom they shared. Soon, very soon, he would be watching these cameras from his secret apartment, seeing everything Monica did when she thought no one was watching. His phone buzzed. It was a text from Grace. "Are you ready for Friday?" Desmond typed back. "As ready as I'll ever be," Grace replied. "It's going to be okay, brother. We'll find out the truth." But what if the truth was worse than he imagined? What if Monica really was planning to hurt him? What if that message, "Once he's gone, we'll have everything to ourselves," meant exactly what it sounded like? Desmond looked at his wedding ring. Gold simple. Inside it was engraved, "Forever yours." In 2 days, he would leave this ring in a burned car, and the world would think Desmond Adams was dead. And then he would finally see who his wife really was. Friday morning arrived with bright sunshine. It was a beautiful day, the kind of day where nothing bad should happen. But today Desmond Adams would die. At least that's what everyone would believe. Desmond woke up early, his heart beating fast. He looked at Monica sleeping beside him. She looked peaceful, innocent. Part of him wanted to wake her up, tell her everything, ask her to just be honest with him. But he couldn't. He had come too far. He needed to see this through. Desmond got out of bed quietly and took a shower. He dressed in simple clothes, jeans, and a blue shirt. He packed a small bag with just a few things: some clothes, his laptop, and a phone that Monica didn't know about. When he came downstairs, Monica was in the kitchen, surprisingly awake. She was making coffee, wearing a silk nightgown. "You're leaving Gearly," she said, not looking at him. "Want to beat the traffic?" Desmond replied. Monica turned around and looked at him. For a moment, just a brief moment, something soft appeared in her eyes. Something that looked almost like concern. "Drive safely," she said. Those were the last words his wife would say to him before he died. "I will," Desmond promised. Then he did something he hadn't done in months. He walked over to her and hugged her tightly. Monica seemed surprised. She stood stiff for a second, then slowly put her arms around him. "I love you, Monica," Desmond whispered into her hair. He meant it. Despite everything, despite all his doubts and suspicions, Part of him still loved the woman he had married. "I love you too," Monica said back, but her voice sounded empty, like she was reading lines from a script. Desmond pulled away, grabbed his bag, and walked to the door. He turned back one last time to look at his wife. She was already back on her phone, scrolling, the moment already forgotten. Desmond got into his car, a black luxury sedan, and drove away from the mansion. As the house disappeared in his rearview mirror, he wondered if he would ever come back. Would he ever live there again? Would Monica even want him back after all? This? He drove for 2 hours heading toward the remote highway where they had planned everything. The road was empty. No other cars, no cameras, just trees and open sky. Finally, he saw Dr. Paul's car parked on the side of the road. Behind it was a tow truck driven by Marcus, Dr. Paul's cousin, who had agreed to help without asking too many questions. Desmond pulled over and got out. "Ready?" Dr. Paul asked. He looked nervous. "Ready?" Desmond said. Even though his hands were shaking for the next hour, they worked quickly. Marcus used the tow truck to position Desmond's car near a tree, making it look like it had crashed. They broke the windshield carefully. They dented the front of the car. Then came the hardest part. Desmond took off his wedding ring, the ring he had worn every single day for 7 years, and placed it on the driver's seat. The ring that said, "Forever yours," inside. Dr. Paul placed some of his own medical equipment in the car to make it look like someone had been there. Then he set up special smoke machines that would create thick, black smoke without actually burning anything dangerous. "Once we start the smoke, you need to leave immediately," Dr. Paul warned. "I'll call the police in exactly 10 minutes. By the time they arrive, you need to be far away from here." Desmond nodded. His throat felt tight. This was really happening. Marcus set off the smoke machines. Thick black smoke began, pouring out of the car, making it look like it was on fire. "Go now!" Dr. Paul shouted. Desmond ran to Dr. Paul's car, got in the back seat, and lay down flat so no one could see him. Dr. Paul jumped in the driver's seat and drove away quickly. Behind them, Desmond's car sat smoking by the side of the road, looking exactly like a terrible accident. Desmond Adams was now officially dead. Chapter 5. The Shocking Reaction. Dr. Paul drove Desmond to the secret apartment downtown. It was small and simple. Nothing like the mansion. Just one bedroom, a kitchen, and a living room. But it had everything Desmond needed: internet, electricity, and complete privacy. "I'll call you as soon as I finish with the police," Dr. Paul said at the door. "Stay here. Don't go outside. Don't let anyone see you." "I won't," Desmond promised. After Dr. Paul left, Desmond sat on the couch and waited. His phone, his secret phone that Monica didn't know about, was in his hand. On it, he had the app that connected to all the security cameras in the mansion. He waited. 1 hour passed, then 2. Then his phone rang. It was Dr. Paul. "It's done," Dr. Paul said quietly. "The police have declared it a fatal accident. They found the wedding ring. They believe it's you." "I'm so sorry, Desmond, but your wife has been informed." Desmond's heart was pounding. "What did she say?" She didn't say much. She just asked if they were sure. Then she hung up. That was strange. Shouldn't she have cried, screamed, asked a million questions? "Thank you, Paul, for everything. Be careful, my friend, and I hope you find what you're looking for." Desmond hung up and immediately opened the security camera app. He clicked on the camera in the master bedroom. There was Monica sitting on the bed alone. Desmond held his breath, waiting to see her break down in tears, waiting to see her grief. But what he saw instead made his blood turn to ice. Monica stood up slowly. She walked to the mirror, and then Desmond couldn't believe his eyes. She smiled. Not a sad smile. Not a smile through tears. A real smile. What? Excited? Happy. She looked at herself in the mirror and whispered something. Desmond turned up the volume on his phone. Finally, Monica said to her reflection, "Finally, it's over." Then she laughed, a small laugh at first, then bigger. She actually laughed. Desmond felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. He couldn't breathe. His wife, the woman he loved, was laughing because she thought he was dead. Monica pulled out her phone and made a call. Desmond watched, his whole body shaking. "It's done," Monica said into the phone. Her voice was cheerful, excited. "Yes, the police just called. Car accident. He's gone." Desmond couldn't hear the other person, but he could see Monica's face light up. "I know. I can barely believe it myself. We did it, baby. We actually did it." She paused, listening. "No. Noon suspects anything. It was a perfect accident. Just like we planned. Just like we planned." Those 4 words echoed in Desmond's head like thunder. Just like we planned. They had planned this. Monica and whoever was, they had planned for him to die. And when a real accident happened, or what they thought was a real accident, they believed their plan had worked. Monica continued talking, pacing around the room. "The funeral will be in a few days. I'll play the sad widow perfectly. Then after everything settles down, we can start moving the money. All of it will be ours." She listened again, then laughed. "I know you're excited, Elijah. I'm too. But we have to be patient just a little bit longer. We can't celebrate too openly yet. People are watching Elijah. So stood for Elijah M." And from her words, Desmond could tell this was someone close, someone who knew him. "I'll see you tomorrow," Monica said sweetly. "I love you too. Bye, baby." She hung up and literally jumped on the bed, kicking her feet in the air like a happy child. Desmond's wife was celebrating his death. He turned off the phone and sat in complete silence. The small apartment felt like a prison. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Such a beautiful evening. But Desmond felt like his whole world had turned dark. Everything he had feared was true. Monica didn't love him. She had never loved him. She had been waiting for him to die so she could take everything. And this Elijah, whoever he was in on it too. Grace called an hour later. "Have you seen?" she asked quietly. "I saw," Desmond said. His voice sounded dead, emotionless. "I'm so sorry, brother." She was celebrating Grace, laughing, she said, "Just like we planned. They wanted me dead." Grace was quiet for a moment. "Then we need to finish this. We need to expose her completely. Are you strong enough to keep watching?" Desmond thought about it. Part of him wanted to stop right now. Part of him wanted to walk into the mansion and reveal himself just to see the shock on Monica's face. But that wouldn't be enough. He needed evidence. He needed to see exactly how far she would go. He needed the whole world to see who she really was. "I'll keep watching," Desmond said firmly. "I want to see everything. Okay, I'll play my part. Tomorrow, I'll go to the mansion to comfort Monica. I'll keep you updated on everything." After Grace hung up, Desmond opened the camera app again. This time, he checked the camera in Monica's private office. She was there sitting at her computer, and she was looking at something on the screen. Desmond zoomed in. His heart stopped. Monica was looking at bank accounts, his bank accounts. She was writing down numbers, calculating something. Then she opened another tab. It was an email to someone named Elijah Morrison. Elijah Morrison. Now Desmond had a full name. The email said, "Baby, I'm looking at the accounts now. There's over $50 million in total, plus the house, the cars, the company shares. We're going to be so rich. Just a few more days and we can start the transfer process. I can't wait to start our new life together." 50 million, that's what his life was worth to her. That's what their 7 years of marriage meant. Desmond felt hot tears running down his face. He didn't try to stop them. He just sat there in that small apartment watching his wife plan to steal everything he had worked for, everything he had built. And the worst part, she was doing it with a smile on her face. The test had begun, and Monica was failing in the most terrible way possible. But Desmond was going to let her keep digging her own grave. He was going to watch every lie, every betrayal, every cruel word. And when the time was right, he would come back from the dead and the truth would destroy her. 3 days after his death, Desmond sat in his small apartment watching the preparations for his own funeral. It was the strangest feeling in the world. Watching people plan to bury you when you were still alive. Watching them cry for you. Watching them say goodbye. But strangest of all was watching his wife pretend to mourn. Grace had gone to the mansion the day after the accident to comfort Monica. Desmond watched it all through the security cameras. Grace had knocked on the door, and Monica had answered wearing all black. Her eyes were red, but Desmond noticed she had used makeup to make them look that way. Her face was sad, her shoulders slumped. "Oh, Grace," Monica had said in a broken voice, falling into Grace's arms. "I can't believe he's gone. My Desmond, my husband." Grace had hugged her back, but Desmond could see his sister's jaw was tight. Grace was a good actress too, but Desmond knew her well enough to see the anger in her eyes. "I'm here for you," Grace had said. "Whatever you need." For the next hour, Monica had cried and talked about how much she loved Desmond, how they had planned to grow old together, how her life was empty without him. It was all lies, every single word. Because that same evening, when Grace left, Desmond watched Monica through the cameras. The moment the front door closed, Monica's sad face disappeared like someone turning off a light switch. She smiled, poured herself a glass of expensive wine, and called Elijah. "That was exhausting," Monica said with a laugh. "Playing the sad widow is harder than I thought." Grace wouldn't leave. She kept asking if I needed anything. Desmond couldn't hear Elijah's response, but Monica laughed at whatever he said. "I know, baby. Just a few more days. The funeral is on Saturday. After that, we can start moving forward with our plans." Now it was Saturday, funeral day. Desmond sat in his apartment dressed in old sweatpants and a t-shirt, watching his own funeral on his phone through the cameras he had hidden near the funeral home entrance. Hundreds of people came. Business partners, friends, employees from his company, even people he barely knew. They all wore black. They all looked sad. And in the front, dressed in an elegant black dress with a veil covering her face, was Monica. She played her part perfectly. Desmond watched as she walked slowly to his casket. Empty, of course, since there was no body. She placed her hand on it, and her shoulders shook like she was crying. People around her whispered comforting words. They touched her shoulder. They told her how sorry they were. Grace stood beside Monica, supporting her. But every few minutes, Grace would glance at the hidden camera, and Desmond knew she was thinking of him watching all this. The pastor spoke about Desmond's life, about how he had built his business from nothing, about how he had been generous and kind, about how he had loved his wife deeply. That last part made Desmond's chest hurt. He had loved Monica deeply. That was true, but she had never loved him back. Not really. After the service, people lined up to offer Monica their condolences. She shook every hand. She accepted every hug. She cried gentle tears that she wiped away with a black handkerchief. She was magnificent. If Desmond didn't know the truth, even he would have believed she was heartbroken. But then Desmond noticed something. A man in the crowd. Tall, handsome, wearing an expensive suit. He had dark hair, slicked back, and a confident smile that didn't quite fit the sad occasion. The man approached Monica, and when he did, something changed in her body language. She stood up straighter. Her fake tears stopped for just a moment. "Mrs. Adams," the man said, taking her hand. "I'm so sorry for your loss. Desmond was a good man." "Thank you," Monica said softly. But Desmond saw it, the way her fingers squeezed the man's hand just a little longer than necessary. This was Elijah. Had to be. Desmond leaned closer to his phone screen, studying the man. Elijah Morrison, the man his wife loved, the man she had planned to steal everything with. He looked successful, charming, the kind of man who knew he was handsome. And the way he looked at Monica, even here at a funeral surrounded by people, there was something hungry in his eyes. After Elijah walked away, Monica watched him go. Just for a second, a small smile appeared on her lips before she caught herself and put her sad mask back on. Desmond felt sick to his stomach. The funeral ended. People slowly left. Monica climbed into a black car with Grace, heading back to the mansion. Desmond switched to the mansion cameras and waited for them to arrive. The mask comes off. Monica and Grace arrived at the mansion an hour later. Several people had come back to the house for a small gathering, something traditional after funerals. The house was filled with quiet conversations. People ate small sandwiches and drank coffee. They shared memories of Desmond. They told Monica how strong she was being. Monica played her role beautifully, moving from group to group, thanking everyone for coming, dabbing at her eyes with tissues. But Desmond noticed something. Every few minutes, Monica would check her phone. She would type something quickly, then put it away with a small smile before anyone noticed. The gathering lasted for 3 hours. Finally, the last person left. Grace stayed behind, helping Monica clean up. "You should rest," Grace told Monica. "You've had a long day." "You're right," Monica said with a tired smile. "Thank you for everything, Grace. I don't know what I would do without you." Grace hugged her. "That's what family is for. Call me if you need anything." After Grace left, Monica stood at the door for a moment, making sure she was really gone. Then she closed the door, locked it, and leaned against it with a huge sigh. Through the camera, Desmond watched his wife's face transform. The sadness melted away. The tiredness disappeared. Instead, Monica's face lit up with excitement and relief. She kicked off her black high heels and actually danced, yes, danced, across the living room floor in her funeral dress. Finally, she said out loud to the empty house. Finally, they're all gone. She grabbed her phone and immediately called someone. From her first words, Desmond knew it was Elijah. Baby, everyone just left. Oh my God, that was exhausting. Monica flopped onto the expensive leather couch, the same couch where she and Desmond used to watch movies together. She listened for a moment, then laughed. I know, I saw you there. You looked so handsome in that suit. I wanted to kiss you right there in front of everyone. Desmond's hands clenched into fists. The performance? Monica continued. Oh, I think I deserve an award. You should have seen me crying. Even I almost believed myself. She loved again, clearly proud of her acting. When can you come over? Monica asked, her voice turning sweeter. I miss you. This house is so big and empty now. Well, it's always been empty. Desmond was barely here anyway. Always working, always busy, never paying attention to me. That wasn't true. Desmond had always made time for Monica. He had taken her on vacations, bought her gifts, tried to make her happy, but apparently none of that mattered. Tomorrow night, Monica said. Yes, perfect. Grace won't come by that soon. She'll think I need space to grieve. She rolled her eyes. Grieve? Asif? She was quiet for a moment, listening. The money? Yes, I've been looking into it. There's a lot, Elijah, more than we even thought. 50 million in liquid cash and investments. Plus, the mansion is worth at least 20 million. The cars, the jewelry, the company shares. Baby, we're going to be richer than we ever dreamed. She paused again. His lawyer said something about the will being frozen for 60 days. Some weird clause, Desmond added recently, but that's fine. It just means we have to wait a little bit. 60 days is nothing compared to the 7 years I've spent playing the loving wife. 7 years. Their entire marriage, all of it had been fake for her. Desmond felt tears running down his face again, but he didn't wipe them away. He just kept watching. I love you too, Monica said sweetly. See you tomorrow night. Wear that cologne I like. She made a kissing sound into the phone and hung up. Then Monica stood up, stretched like a cat, and walked to the bar. She poured herself a large glass of champagne, the expensive kind that Desmond had been saving for a special occasion. She raised the glass to Thayer. To freedom, she said to herself. To money and to the end of the most boring marriage in history. She drank the entire glass in one go. Then, she went upstairs to the bedroom, their bedroom, and started going through Desmond's things. She pulled out his expensive watches and laid them on the bed. She opened his closet and ran her hands over his suits. I can sell these, she muttered to herself. Rich love buying dead people's things. I'll say it's too painful to keep them. She laughed at her own cleverness. Desmond couldn't watch anymore. He closed the app and threw his phone onto the couch. He sat there in the dark apartment, feeling completely hollow inside. This was worse than he had imagined. Monica wasn't just indifferent to his death. She wasn't just relieved. She was celebrating. She was treating his death like winning the lottery. And tomorrow night, she was bringing Elijah, her lover, into their home, into their bedroom. Desmond's phone buzz. It was a text from Grace. Are you okay? I know today was hard, he texted back. I saw everything. She called Elijah right after you left. They're meeting tomorrow night. Grace replied immediately. Do you want me to stop this? I can go back there, stay with her, prevent. No, Desmond typed. Let it happen. I need to see everything. I need evidence of everything she does. The more she reveals, the stronger our case will be. Okay, but please take care of yourself. This can't be easy to watch. It's not, but I have to see the truth, all of it. Desmond put down his phone and walked to the window. Outside, the city lights sparkled like stars. Somewhere out there in his mansion on the hill, his wife was planning her future with another man, a future built in his death. But Monica had made one big mistake. She thought Desmond was gone. She thought she was safe to do whatever she wanted. She had no idea that he was watching, recording, gathering evidence. Soon, very soon, Desmond would come back from the dead. And when he did, Monica's whole world would come crashing down. Sunday evening came slowly. Desmond had barely slept. He kept thinking about what he would see tonight. His wife and another man, in his house, in his bed. Part of him wanted to stop watching. Part of him wanted to just walk away from all of this and start a new life somewhere else. But he couldn't. He needed to see the truth, all of it. At 7:00, Desmond opened the camera app on his phone. Monica was in the master bedroom getting ready. She had showered and was now standing in front of the mirror in a red silk robe, the one Desmond had bought her for their 5th anniversary. She was putting on makeup, not the simple, natural kind she usually wore. This was different. Darker lipstick, more eyeshadow. She was making herself beautiful for someone else. Desmond's heart ached, but he kept watching. Monica sprayed perfume on her neck and wrists. Then she went to the closet and pulled out a black dress. Tight, elegant, and revealing. She had never worn it for Desmond. He didn't even know she owned it. At exactly 8:02, the doorbell rang. Monica's face lit up with excitement. She practically ran down the stairs, her high heels clicking on the marble floor. She opened the door, and there he was, Elijah Morrison. He was tall, taller than Desmond, with broad shoulders and a confident smile. He wore expensive clothes and held a bottle of wine in one hand and flowers in the other. "Hello, beautiful," Elijah said smoothly. Monica didn't even respond with words. She just pulled him inside, closed the door, and kissed him. Right there in the entrance hall, under the chandelier that Desmond had bought on the floor, where Desmond had carried Monica over the threshold on their wedding day. The kiss was long and passionate. Nothing like the cold, quick pecks Monica used to give Desmond. When they finally pulled apart, Elijah looked around the mansion with approval. "So this is all yours now?" he asked. "Ours?" Monica corrected with a smile. "Everything here is ours, baby. The house, the cars, the money, all of it." Elijah grinned. "I have to admit, when we first started planning this, I wasn't sure it would actually work. But you were right. Desmond was so predictable, so trusting, planning this." There was again confirmation that they had planned for Desmond to die. "I told you," Monica said, leading Elijah into the living room. "I've been studying him for years. He followed the same routine every single day. I knew exactly how to make it look like an accident." Desmond's blood ran cold. Make it look like an accident. What did that mean? They sat on the couch, Desmond's couch, and Elijah poured wine into 2 glasses. "Tell me again," Elijah said with a smile. "Tell me how you planned it." Monica laughed and took a sip of wine. "You want to hear the story again? You're terrible." "I just love hearing how smart you are," Elijah said, kissing her neck. Monica giggled, actually giggled, and began talking. "Okay, so Desmond always drove himself on long business trips. He liked the quiet time to think, so I knew that if something happened on one of those drives, it would look natural. An accident, no one would question it." Desmond leaned closer to his phone, his heart pounding. "I started researching car accidents," Monica continued. "How they happen, what causes them, and then I found someone who could help." "Who?" Elijah asked. "A mechanic. Someone who owed me a favor. I had him check Desmond's car a few weeks ago. Just a routine maintenance or so, Desmond thought. But really the mechanic was adjusting things." "Adjusting things," Elijah repeated, fascinated the brakes. Monica said simply. "He made it so they would fail after a certain amount of driving." "Not immediately. That would be too suspicious. But after about 2 hours, on the highway, the brake fluid would leak out completely. Desmond wouldn't be able to stop the car. Desmond felt like he couldn't breathe. His wife had tampered with his car. She had tried to kill him. If he had actually driven that car on a real business trip, he would have crashed. He would have died. The fake death had saved his real life." "That's brilliant," Elijah said, clearly impressed. "And when the accident happened, no one would suspect anything. Just a tragic accident. A widow left behind with a fortune." "Exactly," Monica said proudly. "And the best part, Desmond had no idea. He trusted me completely. He never checked his car. He never questioned anything. So when the police called and said there was an accident, Elijah said slowly, 'You must have been shocked that it actually happened so soon.'" Monica nodded enthusiastically. I thought it would take another week or 2, but when they called and said his car crashed and burned on the highway, I couldn't believe our luck. Everything worked out perfectly." She raised her glass to perfect accidents. Elijah clinked his glass against hers to perfect accidents and to us. They drank, and then Elijah set down his glass and looked at Monica. "Seriously. So when can we start moving the money?" "Hesked. 60 days, Monica said with a sigh. "His stupid lawyer said the will has some kind of freeze on it. Everything is locked for 60 days. Desmond must have added that clause recently. Maybe he was getting paranoid." "Can we break the freeze?" Elijah asked. "I don't think so. Not without raising suspicion, but it's fine. 60 days will go by fast, and in the meantime," Monica smiled wickedly, "we can start planning our new life together." "Where do you want to go?" Elijah asked, pulling her closer. "Somewhere far away, maybe Europe, Paris, maybe, or Italy. Somewhere we can live in luxury and never think about this boring city again." "What about Desmond's sister, Grace?" Elijah asked. "Won't she be suspicious if you leave the country so soon?" Monica waved her hand dismissively. "Grace is easy to handle. I'll tell her I need time to heal, that being in this house is too painful. She'll understand. She might even encourage me to travel." "You're so smart," Elijah said admiringly. "I know," Monica replied with a confident smile. Desmond wanted to throw his phone across the room. He wanted to scream. His wife hadn't just been unfaithful. She hadn't just waited for him to die. She had actively tried to murder him. She had sabotaged his car. She had planned his death. And now she was sitting in his house drinking his wine, celebrating with her lover. "There's one more thing we need to discuss," Elijah said, his tone becoming more serious. "What?" Monica asked. "The company?" Desmond's company? It's worth millions, but you can't run it alone. You don't know anything about business. Monica frowned. I know. I've been thinking about that. I have a solution, Elijah said smoothly. Sell it. Sell the whole company. There are plenty of people who would pay top dollar for a successful business like Desmond's. We could make at least 30 or 40 million from the sale alone. Sell the company Desmond built, Monica said thoughtfully. That feels final. That's the point, Elijah said. We need to close this chapter completely. Sell everything. The company, this house, the cars, turn it all into cash. Then we disappear and start fresh somewhere else. New names, new lives. No connections to Desmond Adams at all. Monica thought about this for a moment, then slowly smiled. You're right. Let's burn it all down and start over. That's my girl, Elijah said, kissing her. They talked for another hour about their plans, where they would live, what they would buy, how they would spend Desmond's money. They talked about Desmond like he was nothing, like he had been just an obstacle in their path, a problem they had solved. Finally, around 11 Monica stood up and took Elijah's hand. Come on, she said with a playful smile. Let me show you the bedroom. Desmond closed the app immediately. He couldn't watch that. He wouldn't. He sat in the dark apartment, shaking with rage and pain. His wife had tried to kill him. She had sabotaged his car, hoping he would crash and die. And when she thought her plan had worked, she invited her lover into their home to celebrate. But there was something Monica didn't know. Something that would change everything. The mechanic she mentioned. The one who supposedly adjusted his brakes. Desmond knew all his mechanics. He knew everyone who touched his cars, and he knew for a fact that no one had tampered with them, which meant Monica had paid someone to sabotage a car. But because Desmond had switched to a different car for his fake death plan, the sabotage car was probably still sitting in his garage. Evidence. Physical evidence of attempted murder. Desmond grabbed his phone and called Grace immediately. Grace, he said urgently when she answered. I need you to do something tonight, right now. What is it? Grace asked, hearing the intensity in his voice. Go to the mansion, but don't go to the front door. Monica has company. Go to the garage, my silver car, the one I usually drive for long trips. I need you to take pictures of the brake system. Every angle. Close up, everything. What's going on? Monica admitted she hired someone to sabotage my brakes. She tried to kill me. Grace, she thought the fake accident was her plan working. That car in the garage is evidence of attempted murder. Grace was quiet for a moment. Oh my God. Desmond. She really tried to. She actually... I know. Can you do it? Can you get those pictures tonight? Yes. Yes. I'll go right now. I'll be careful. Monica won't even know I was there. Thank you. And Grace, record everything. If you can get into the house somehow, set up more cameras. I need to document everything she does. I'll handle it. You just please take care of yourself. This is getting dangerous. After hanging up, Desmond sat back and took a deep breath. The test was revealing more than he ever imagined. Monica wasn't just disloyal. She wasn't just greedy. She was a murderer. Or at least she had tried to be. And now Desmond had to decide how far would he let this go before he revealed himself. How much more could he watch before he broke? He looked at his phone. The camera. App was still there, ready to show him whatever else Monica and Elijah were doing. But Desmond couldn't bring himself to look. Not o'night. Tonight, he just sat in the darkness, mourning the woman he thought he had married, mourning the love that had never been real. Tomorrow, he would watch again. He would gather more evidence. He would wait for the perfect moment to reveal the truth. But tonight, Desmond just grieved for the life he had lost, even though he was still alive. Grace moved quickly through the dark streets, her heart pounding. It was past midnight now, and the city was quiet. She drove to the Adams mansion with her headlights off as she got closer, not wanting to attract attention. She parked a block away and walked the rest of the distance, staying in the shadows. The mansion rose before her like a castle, all its windows. Dark except for one, the master bedroom on the second floor. Grace felt sick knowing what was happening in that room. Her brother's wife in her brother's bed with another man. While everyone thought Desmond was dead and buried, she pushed the thought away. Focus, Grace. You have a job to do. Grace had a key to the side entrance. Desmond had given it to her years ago for emergencies. She used it now, slipping quietly into the house, through the door that led directly to the garage. The garage was huge, big enough for 6 cars. Right now, it held 4. Desmond's silver sedan, Monica's red sports car, a black SUV, and a vintage car that Desmond rarely drove. Grace pulled out her phone and turned on the flashlight app. keeping the light low. She walked to the silver sedan, the car Desmond usually drove on long business trips. The car Monica had sabotaged. Grace lay down on the cold garage floor and slid under the car. She had watched enough crime shows to know where the brakes were. She took picture after picture, dozens of them from every angle. Even with her limited knowledge, Grace could see something was wrong. There was a small cut in one of the brake lines, not a natural wear and tear. A deliberate cut designed to leak slowly over time. Monica had really done it. She had tried to murder Desmond. Grace felt anger burning in her chest as she took more photos. Then she crawled out from under the car and photographed the outside, too, including the license plate and the vehicle identification number. Evidence. Solid, undeniable evidence. As she was finishing, Grace heard something. Footsteps. Someone was coming down the stairs from the main house. Grace quickly turned off her phone light and hid behind the black SUV, her heart racing. The door from the house opened, and Monica walked in, wearing only Desmond's silk bathrobe. She was on her phone, laughing softly. "No, baby, I'm just getting some water from the kitchen," Monica said into the phone. She must have called Elijah from downstairs. "I'll be right back up. Don't fall asleep without me." Monica walked right past the garage entrance toward the kitchen. Grace held her breath, not moving a muscle. After what felt like forever, Monica returned with a bottle of water and went back upstairs, still talking sweetly on her phone. Grace waited another 5 minutes to make sure Monica was really gone. Then she quietly let herself out of the side door and walked quickly back to her car. Once she was safely inside, she called Desmond. "I got them," she said as soon as he answered the photos. "You were right, Desmond. The brake line is cut. It's clear as day. This is evidence of attempted murder." "Send them to me right now," Desmond said, his voice tight. "And send copies to yourself, too. Save them in multiple places. We can't lose this evidence. I will." "Desmond, this is serious. Monica didn't just wish you were dead. She tried to make it happen. When this comes out, she'll go to prison." Desmond finished along with whoever she paid to cut those brakes. And Elijah, too, if he was involved in the planning. "What do we do now?" Grace asked. "We wait," Desmond said. "I know it's hard, but we need more. I want to see how far she'll go. Tomorrow, I need you to do something else for me." "What?" "Find out who Elijah Morrison really is, where he works, his background, everything. If he helped Monica plan this, I want to know who he is and how they met." "I'll start first thing in the morning," Grace promised. After they hung up, Grace sat in her car for a long moment, looking at the mansion. From the outside, it looked so peaceful, so perfect. But inside, terrible things were happening. Her brother was alive, but he was living like a ghost, watching his own life fall apart. And his wife, the woman who had promised to love and protect him, had become his worst enemy. Grace started her car and drove home, already planning her next move, the business deal. Over the next 2 weeks, Monica moved fast, faster than Desmond expected. She wasn't wasting any time pretending to grieve. Every day, Desmond watched through the cameras as Monica made phone calls, sent emails, and met with people. She was selling everything. First, she contacted Desmond's business partner, Mr. Richard Chin, and told him she wanted to sell her shares of the company. "I can't run it alone," Monica had told Mr. Chin. Tears in her eyes, fake tears, Desmond knew. "It's too painful. Everywhere I look, I see Desmond. I need a fresh start." Mr. Chin, who was a kind man in his 60s, had felt sorry for her. "Understand, Mrs. Adams, take your time. There's no rush." But Monica had rushed. Within a week, she had arranged to sell her controlling shares for $35 million. The deal would close as soon as the 60-day will freeze ended. $35 million for a company that Desmond had built from scratch, a company he had poured his heart and soul into for 20 years, and Monica was selling it without a second thought. But that wasn't all. Desmond watched as Monica contacted a real estate agent about selling the mansion. "I want to move," Monica told the agent, a sharp woman in a business suit. "This house has too many memories. I need something smaller, simpler." Wasp. All lies. Monica didn't want something smaller. She wanted to turn the mansion into cash so she could run away with Elijah. The agent valued the mansion at $22 million. She said she could have it sold within 3 months. Monica had smiled. Perfect. Let's start the process. Desmond felt like he was watching someone tear apart his entire life piece by piece. And through it all, Elijah was always there. He came to the mansion almost every night. Now, sometimes he stayed until morning. They didn't even try to hide it anymore. Why would they? Everyone thought Desmond was dead. Grace had done research on Elijah Morrison, and what she found made Desmond even angrier. Elijah wasn't a successful businessman like he pretended to be. He was a con artist, a professional liar, who had been married twice before, both times to wealthy women. Both marriages had ended in divorce, with Elijah walking away with millions. Now he was doing the same thing with Monica, except this time he didn't have to wait for a divorce. He just had to wait for a death. He's using her. Grace had told Desmond over the phone. Monica thinks they're partners, but Elijah has done this before. Heffins rich women, makes them fall in love with him, and then takes their money. So they're using each other, Desmond had replied bitterly. Monica is using me, and Elijah is using Monica. It's perfect. But Desmond had a plan. He had been patient for weeks now, watching and recording everything. Now he had hundreds of hours of footage. Videos of Monica and Elijah together. Recordings of their conversations about stealing his money. Photos of the sabotaged brake line. Bank records showing Monica trying to access his frozen accounts. Evidence. Mountains of evidence. And Desmond had decided it was almost time to reveal himself. But not yet. There was one more thing he needed to see. According to Monica's conversations with Elijah, they were planning something special. An engagement party, exactly 40 days after Desmond's death. It's traditional in some cultures to have a mourning period of 40 days, Monica had told Elijah with a laugh. After that, I'm officially free to move on. We'll announce our engagement at a small party, nothing too big. We don't want to look disrespectful, just close friends. 40 days, a symbolic ending to her fake mourning. Desmond had circled the date on his calendar. That would be the night he came back from the dead. The night he destroyed Monica's lies in front of everyone. 3 weeks after the funeral, Desmond got a call from his lawyer, Mr. Harrison. Grace had given him the number to Desmond's secret phone. Mr. Adams, Mr. Harrison said, his voice serious. I'm glad you answered. We need to talk urgently. What's wrong? Desmond asked. It's your wife. She's been coming to my office almost every day trying to break the 60-day freeze on your will. She's getting aggressive about it. What is she saying? She claims she needs money for expenses. She says she can't pay the mansion's bills without access to your accounts. But Mr. Adams, I've checked. The accounts. You set up automatic payments for all the household expenses. Everything is being paid. She doesn't need additional money. Then what does she want the money for? Desmond asked, though he already knew the answer. I believe she wants to access the liquid assets, the cash and investments. She's asked me multiple times about transferring large sums to her personal account. Have you let her? Absolutely not. The will is very clear. Everything is frozen for 60 days from the date of your death. After that, as your widow, she inherits everything according to the terms you set. But until then, I cannot and will not release any funds. Good, Desmond said firmly. Don't give her anything. Not a single dollar. There's something else, Mr. Harrison continued, his voice dropping lower. Mrs. Adams brought someone with her to the last meeting, a man named Elijah Morrison. She introduced him as a family friend who was helping her with business matters. But the way he spoke, the questions he asked. Mr. Adams, I don't trust him. What kind of questions? He wanted to know exactly how much you were worth. He asked about the company shares, the properties, the investments. Even asked if there were any ways to contest the 60-day freeze. He claimed it was unfair to make a widow wait for her inheritance. Desmond's jaw tightened. What did you tell him? I told him the will is legally binding and cannot be changed. I also told him that I only discuss estate matters with family members, not family friends. He didn't like that. Thank you for protecting my estate, Mr. Harrison. Of course, but Mr. Adams, I have to ask. And please understand this is difficult for me. But is there any chance your wife was involved in your accident? The way she's acting, the urgency for money, this man she's brought around. It doesn't seem like normal widow behavior. Desmond paused. Mr. Harrison was smart. He was seeing the truth without even knowing Desmond was alive. Let me ask you something, Mr. Harrison. If I could prove that someone tried to harm me for money, what would happen to their inheritance? There was silence on the other end for a moment. If you could prove attempted murder or conspiracy to murder, the person would be disqualified from inheriting anything. In fact, they would face criminal charges. Mr. Adams, are you saying? I'm saying keep the freeze in place. Don't let Monica or anyone else access my estate and document every interaction you have with her and Mr. Morrison. Write down everything they say, every question they ask. It might be important later. I will, and Mr. Adams, I'm very glad you called. This situation has been troubling me greatly. After hanging up, Desmond felt a small sense of satisfaction. Even people who didn't know the truth were starting to see through Monica's act. The 60-day freeze was brilliant. It had been a last-minute decision, something Desmond added to his will just days before his fake death. At the time, he didn't fully understand why he felt the need for it. It was just instinct, a feeling that he needed to protect himself. Now he understood that instinct had been right. If Monica had immediate access to his money, she would have transferred it all offshore within days. By the time Desmond revealed himself, the money would be gone, hidden in accounts he could never trace. But the freeze stopped her. It forced her to wait, and waiting made her desperate, and desperate people made mistakes. Monica was making mistakes now, bringing Elijah to the lawyer's office, asking suspicious questions, moving too fast with selling the company and the house. She thought she was being smart, but she was actually building her own prison brick by brick, and Desmond was counting every brick. The days passed slowly for Desmond. Each morning, he woke up in the small apartment that had become his prison. Each day, he watched Monica through the cameras, seeing her live the life she had always wanted, a life without him. Monica had changed. Without Desmond around, she became a different person. She laughed more. She smiled more. She seemed lighter, freer, happier. It hurt to watch, but Desmond kept watching anyway. He saw her redecorate the bedroom, taking down photos of their wedding, and replacing them with modern art. She threw away his clothes, his books, his favorite coffee mug, erasing him from the house piece by piece. She went shopping almost every day, buying new clothes, new jewelry, new furniture. She spent money like water, using the credit cards that were still active for household expenses. And every night Elijah came over. They would have dinner together, expensive dinners with wine and candles. They would sit on the balcony and talk about their future. They would make plans. I'm thinking we should go to Paris first, Monica said. One evening, Desmond watched through the balcony camera as she leaned against Elijah's shoulder. I've always wanted to live in Paris. Piz it is, Elijah agreed, kissing her forehead. We can buy an apartment near the Eiffel Tower. Wake up every morning to that view. With Desmond's money, we can buy 10 apartments if we want. Monica laughed. They talked about Desmond like he was a bank account. Not a person, not someone who had loved Monica with his whole heart, just money. Grace visited Desmond for a few days, bringing him food and updates. She looked tired and sad, pretending to support Monica while knowing the truth was draining her. I can't stand being around her, Grace admitted one afternoon, sitting in Desmond's small apartment. Every time she cries those fake tears or talks about how much she misses you, I want to scream the truth. I want to tell everyone what she really is. Soon, Desmond promised. Just a few more weeks. The engagement party is in 10 days. That's when we end this. Are you ready? Grace asked, studying her brother's face. He looked thinner now with dark circles under his eyes. Desmond, this has taken a toll on you. Maybe we should just go to the police now. We have enough evidence. No, Desmond said firmly. I want everyone to see, not just the police. I want her friends, her family, Elijah's face when I walk into that room. I want it all to be public. She humiliated me by pretending to love me for 7 years. Now everyone will see who she really is. Grace nodded slowly. Okay, then let's make sure everything is perfect. They spent the next hour going over the plan. Grace would attend the engagement party. Of course, she would bring a camera crew telling Monica it was to record the happy occasion. But really, it would capture Desmond's return. Dr. Paul would be there too, ready to provide the medical documentation proving that Desmond's death had been faked with his help. His testimony would be crucial, and Desmond's lawyer, Mr. Harrison, would arrive with police officers, ready to freeze Monica's assets permanently and file criminal charges. Everything was planned, every detail accounted for. The invitations went out yesterday, Grace told Desmond. Monica invited about 50 people, close friends, some business associates, a few distant relatives. She's calling it a celebration of new beginnings. A celebration of new beginnings, Desmond repeated bitterly. More like a celebration of my death. She also hired a party planner, Grace continued. The whole thing is going to be at the mansion in the ballroom. She's spending thousands of dollars on decorations, catering, music, all being charged to your accounts as memorial expenses. Desmond shook his head in disbelief. She's throwing a party to celebrate her engagement to another man, and she's using my money to pay for it. That's not all, Grace said quietly. I saw the dress she bought. It's white, Desmond. She's wearing white to her engagement party like a bride. Desmond felt his hands curl into fists. Monica was mocking everything they had shared. Their marriage, their vows, their life together. But soon, very soon, the mockery would end. The engagement party begins. The night of the party arrived. It was exactly 40 days since Desmond's death. A warm Saturday evening with clear skies and a full moon. Desmond sat in his apartment dressed in a sharp black suit, the same suit he had worn to his own wedding. He wanted Monica to remember that day. Remember the promises she had made. Remember what she had destroyed. Grace called him at 7. The party is starting. People are arriving. Are you ready? I'm ready, Desmond said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. Dr. Paul is here with me. The police are waiting outside in unmarked cars. Mr. Harrison has all the documents. Everything is set. How does Monica look? Desmond asked. Grace was quiet for a moment. She looks beautiful and happy. Happier than I've ever seen her. She's glowing, Desmond. She really thinks she's won? Good, Desmond said coldly. That will make the fall even harder. Through his phone, Desmond watched the security camera feeds. The ballroom of his mansion had been transformed. White flowers everywhere. Candles on every table. Soft music playing from a string quartet. Guests filled the room, all dressed elegantly. They held champagne glasses and chatted pleasantly. Most of them looked slightly uncomfortable. After all, it was a bit soon for the widow to be celebrating. But they came anyway, probably out of curiosity. And there, in the center of it all, stood Monica in her white dress. It was elegant and flowing with diamonds sewn into the fabric that caught the light. She looked like a princess. Her hair was styled in soft curls, and she wore the diamond necklace Desmond had given her for their 5th anniversary. She was using everything he had given her to celebrate replacing him. Next to her stood Elijah, looking confident and handsome in a designer suit. He had his arm around Monica's waist, and they were both smiling as guests congratulated them. Thank you so much for coming, Monica said to each guest. I know it seems fast, but life is short, you know. Desmond's death taught me that when you find love, you have to hold on to it. The guests nodded, though some exchanged uncertain glances. 40 days wasn't much time to mourn a husband and find a new love, but Monica didn't seem to notice or care about their doubts. She was radiant, victorious. At 8 the party was in full swing. Waiters circulated with trays of food and champagne. The string quartet played soft, romantic music. People laughed and talked. Then the music stopped. Monica stepped up to a small stage at the front of the ballroom with Elijah beside her. Everyone, can I have your attention, please? Monica said into a microphone. Her voice was sweet and clear. The room went quiet. All eyes turned to her. First of all, thank you all for being here tonight, Monica began. I know that some of you might be wondering if this is too soon. It's only been 40 days since I lost my husband, Desmond. She paused, and Desmond saw her dab at her eyes with a handkerchief. Even now, she was performing. Desmond was a good man, Monica continued. He gave me a comfortable life. But I have to be honest with you all. Our marriage wasn't perfect. We had grown apart over the years. We were more like roommates than husband and wife. When he died, I felt relief. And that relief came with guilt. Some people in the audience shifted uncomfortably. This was more honesty than they expected. But then he met Elijah, Monica said, turning to smile at him. Actually, I've known Elijah for a while. He was one of Desmond's business associates. And after Desmond passed, Elijah was there for me. He helped me through the grief. He listened to me. He understood me in ways that Desmond never did. Desmond watched from his apartment, his blood boiling. Monica was rewriting their history, making it sound like their marriage had been bad, like she had been unhappy, like Desmond had been the problem. Elijah and I fell in love, Monica said, taking Elijah's hand. And I know it's fast. I know people will talk, but I've learned that life is too short to waste. So tonight I'm happy to officially announce our engagement. The room erupted in polite applause, though it wasn't very enthusiastic. People were clearly uncomfortable. Elijah took the microphone. Thank you all for supporting us. I know this situation is unusual, but Monica and I have something special, and we wanted to share this moment with the people who matter most. He pulled Monica close and kissed her right there in front of everyone in Desmond's house at a party paid for with Desmond's money. The applause was even weaker this time. Grace, standing near the back of the room, pulled out her phone and sent Desmond a text. Are you watching this? Desmond texted back. Every second tell me when you're ready. Grace replied. Give me 5 more minutes. Let her enjoy her moment. The fall will be sweeter. Those 5 minutes felt like hours to Desmond. He watched as Monica and Elijah moved through the crowd, accepting congratulations. He watched as they laughed and toasted with champagne. He watched as they posed for photos. Monica's left hand prominently displayed with a huge engagement ring. An engagement ring that Elijah had probably bought with money he planned to steal from Monica later. Finally, Grace texted, "Now, come now." Desmond stood up, straightened his suit jacket, and picked up his car keys. It was time to come back from the dead. The return. Desmond drove through the city streets, his heart pounding with every mile. The closer he got to the mansion, the more real this became. He had been dead for 40 days, and now he was about to walk back into his own life. He pulled up to the mansion gates. The guard on duty, a young man named Marcus, who had worked for Desmond for 2 years, looked at the car approaching and stood up to check the driver. When Marcus saw Desmond's face through the windshield, he froze. His eyes went wide, his mouth dropped open. "Good evening, Marcus," Desmond said calmly through the window. "And Mr. Adams?" Marcus stammered, his face going pale. But you're dead. We went to your funeral. Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated," Desmond said with a slight smile. "Open the gate, please." Marcus fumbled with the controls, his hands shaking. The gate slowly swung open. Desmond drove through up the long driveway to his mansion. He could hear the music from the party, see the lights blazing from every window. He parked right in front of the main entrance and got out of the car. Desmond walked up the steps and pushed open the front doors. The entrance hall was empty. Everyone was in the ballroom. He could hear Monica's laughter echoing through the house, along with music and the chatter of guests. Desmond walked slowly down the familiar hallway. His footsteps echoed on the marble floor, past the living room where he and Monica used to watch movies, past the dining room where they had shared countless meals, past the photos on the walls, though most of them were gone now. Noticed Monica had removed them. Finally, he reached the doors to the ballroom. They were wide open. He could see everything from where he stood. Monica and Elijah were in the center of the room dancing. Her white dress swirled around her as he spun her. She was laughing, her head thrown back, completely happy. Grace saw him first. She was standing near the back and her eyes met his across the room. She gave him a small nod. It was time. Grace moved quickly to the sound system and turned off the music. The sudden silence made everyone stop and look around in confusion. "Ladies and gentlemen," Grace said loudly, her voice carrying through the ballroom. "I apologize for interrupting, but we have a very special guest tonight. Someone who couldn't make it to his own funeral." People looked at each other confused. What was she talking about? Grace pointed toward the doorway. "Everyone, I'd like to introduce you to my brother, Desmond Adams." And Desmond stepped into the light. For a moment, everything froze. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Nobody spoke. 50 people stood in complete silence, staring at a ghost, because that's what Desmond looked like to them. A ghost. A dead man walking. Monica saw him and the color drained from her face. Her champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor. The sound broke the spell. Then chaos erupted. People started screaming. Some guests backed away in fear. Others pulled out their phones, not sure if they should call the police or start recording. "Desmond!" someone shouted. "But that's impossible. He's dead. We went to his funeral. Is this some kind of trick?" But Desmond ignored them all. His eyes were locked on Monica. She stood frozen in the middle of the dance floor, still in Elijah's arms, her face white as her dress. "Hello, Monica," Desmond said calmly, his voice cutting through the noise. "Did you miss me?" Monica couldn't speak. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She looked like she was seeing a nightmare come to life. Elijah, on the other hand, reacted differently. His face went from shock to anger to fear in seconds. He let go of Monica and took a step back, his eyes darting toward the exits. Desmond walked slowly into the room, and the crowd parted before him like water. "Don't leave on my account, Elijah," Desmond said coldly. "The party is just getting started." "How? How is this possible?" Monica finally whispered. Her voice was so quiet people had to strain to hear it. "You're dead. The police said they found your ring. The car. The car was a stage," Desmond said simply. "The death was fake. But your betrayal? That was very real." Monica shook her head frantically. "I don't understand. Why would you?" "Why would I fake my own death?" Desmond interrupted. He pulled out his phone and held it up to test you, Monica. "To see if you really loved me or if you only loved my money." He pressed the button, and suddenly the large screen on the wall, the one Monica had set up to show their engagement photos, flickered to life. But instead of engagement photos, it showed security camera footage. The crowd gasped as they saw Monica, just days after Desmond's death, dancing around the bedroom and laughing. "Finally," her recorded voice said clearly. "Finally, it's over." Monica made a choking sound. "No, no, you can't." But Desmond pressed another button. The video changed to show Monica on the phone. Her voice came through the speakers. "It's done. Yes, the police just called. Car accident. He's gone." Then another clip. Monica and Elijah in the living room toasting with champagne. "To perfect accidents," Monica's voice said. The crowd was silent now, watching in horror. "That's enough." Monica suddenly screamed, "Turn it off!" But Desmond didn't stop. The next clip showed Monica and Elijah talking about the brake sabotage. "I had the mechanic adjust things," Monica's voice explained on the video. "The brakes. He made it so they would fail after about 2 hours on the highway. Desmond wouldn't be able to stop the car." Gasps filled the room. People were no longer confused. They were understanding. Monica hadn't just been unfaithful. She had tried to murder her husband. "You were going to kill me," Desmond said, his voice shaking with emotion. "Now you sabotaged my car. You planned my death. And when you thought it had worked, you celebrated." "That's not. I didn't," Monica stammered. Other lies sounded weak, even to her own ears. One more video clip played. This one showed Monica, looking at bank accounts on her computer, writing down numbers. Her voice came through. "There's over $50 million in total, plus the house, the cars, the company shares. We're going to be so rich." The room erupted in angry whispers. People were looking at Monica with disgust now. Desmond finally turned off the screen. "I gave you everything, Monica. My love, my trust, my life, and you repaid me by trying to take it all, literally." Monica's legs seemed to give out. She sank to her knees on the ballroom floor, her white dress pooling around her. "Please," she whispered. "Please, Desmond, I can explain." "Explain what?" Desmond demanded, his voice rising. "Explain how you hired someone to cut my bra lines. Explain how you planned to steal $50 million. Explain how you brought your lover into our home, into our bed, days after you thought I was dead." Tears were streaming down Monica's face now. Real tears for once, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of fear. Fear of being caught. Fear of losing everything. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," Monica sobbed. I wanted to be free. You were always so controlling. Always so careful with money. I felt trapped." "Trapped?" Desmond repeated in disbelief. "I gave you everything you asked for. Every dress. Every piece of jewelry. Every expensive dinner. I worked hard so you could have a life of luxury, and you felt trapped. You never understood me." Monica shouted back, her fear turning to desperation. "You never saw me as anything but a pretty decoration for your perfect life. I was dying inside that marriage, Desmond, so you decided to make sure I died outside of it." Desmond shot back. Monica had no answer for that. Desmond turned to face the crowd. Many of them were people he had known for years. Business partners, friends, neighbors. "I apologize for deceiving all of you." Desmond said to them, "I know attending my funeral, mourning my death, it must have been painful. And I'm sorry, but it needed to know the truth about my wife. And now you all know it too." He turned back to Monica, who was still on her knees crying. "You wanted my death so badly, Monica. You planned it. You celebrated it. You tried to profit from it. But I came back, not for revenge, but for justice." At that moment, the ballroom doors opened and several police officers walked in, led by Detective Sarah Rodriguez. "Desmond Adams?" Detective Rodriguez said, though she was clearly shocked to see him alive. "That's me," Desmond confirmed. "We received a call about attempted murder," the detective said, looking confused. "That's correct." Desmond handed her a folder. "In there, you'll find evidence of conspiracy to commit murder, security camera footage, audio recordings, and photographs of my car with sabotage brake lines." My wife, Monica Adams, hired someone to cut my brakes, intending to cause a fatal accident. Detective Rodriguez opened the folder and quickly scanned the contents. Her expression hardened. She looked at Monica, then at Elijah, who was trying to slowly back toward an exit. Officers, detain these two, the detective ordered. 2 police officers moved toward Monica. She didn't resist. She just knelt there crying as they helped her to her feet and handcuffed her. "This isn't fair!" Monica suddenly screamed. "You tricked me, Desmond. You faked your death. That's illegal too." Actually, Mr. Harrison stepped forward from the crowd. Faking one's own death is not illegal if done with proper documentation, and if you don't defraud anyone. Mr. Adams coordinated with Dr. Thompson and myself to ensure everything was done legally. You, on the other hand, committed attempted murder, conspiracy to commit fraud and embezzlement. Monica's face crumbled. She had no defense left. The officers then moved toward Elijah, who tried to run, but he didn't get far. 2 officers grabbed him at the doorway. "I didn't do anything," Elijah protested. "I didn't know about the brakes. That was all her." "Really?" Desmond said coldly. He played another video clip on the screen. This one showed Elijah and Monica planning how to sell the company and hide the money offshore. Elijah's voice came through clearly. "We need to close this chapter completely. Sell everything. Turn it all into cash. Then we disappear." Elijah's face went pale. He stopped struggling. Elijah Morrison, Detective Rodriguez, said, "You're under arrest as an accomplice to fraud and conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent." As the detective read them their rights, the party guests stood in stunned silence. Some were filming on their phones. Others were whispering to each other. All of them were witnessing the most dramatic party they had ever attended. Monica looked at Desmond one last time as the officers led her toward the door. Her mascara was running down her face. Her white dress was dirty from kneeling on the floor, and her expensive engagement ring caught the light. "I did love you once," she said quietly. "In the beginning, I really did." Desmond looked at her. This woman he had married 7 years ago. This woman he had trusted with his heart and his life. "No, Monica," he said sadly. "You loved the idea of me, the mansion, the money, the status, but you never loved me. If you had, you wouldn't have been able to do what you did." Monica opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. What could she say? He was right. The police hauled her out of the ballroom. Elijah was taken out through another door, still protesting his innocence. And just like that, it was over. After the police left with Monica and Elijah, the ballroom remained silent for a long moment. 50 guests stood frozen, not sure what to do or say. Then someone started clapping slowly at first. Then others joined in. Soon the entire room was applauding. Desmond stood there overwhelmed. He hadn't expected this. He thought people might be angry at him for the deception, but instead they were supporting him. "That was the bravest thing I've ever seen," said Mr. Chin, Desmond's business partner, stepping forward. He was an older man with kind eyes. "Monica almost stole everything from you. Your company, your fortune, your life. I'm so sorry I didn't see through her act." "None of us did," said another guest, a woman who had been Monica's friend. "She fooled all of us. I feel sick thinking about how I comforted her at the funeral, telling her everything would be okay. Meanwhile, she was planning to run away with that criminal." People came up to Desmond one by one, shaking his hand, hugging him, telling him they were glad he was alive. Some apologized for believing Monica's lies. Others said they had always suspected something was wrong, but couldn't prove it. Through it all, Grace stood by her brother's side, her arm around his shoulder. After about 30 minutes, the guests began to leave. They had gotten quite a show, and now they had stories to tell. By tomorrow morning, the entire city would know what happened. Finally, only Desmond, Grace, and Dr. Paul remained in the ballroom. The room that had been decorated for an engagement party now looked empty and sad. White flowers everywhere, but no celebration. Desmond walked to the center of the dance floor where Monica had been dancing with Elijah just an hour ago. He looked around at the mansion, his home, that suddenly felt different, cleaner somehow, like a poison had been removed. "Are you okay?" Grace asked softly. Desmond thought about the question. Was he okay? His wife had tried to kill him. She had betrayed him in the worst possible way. She had never loved him, but he was alive. He had his company back. He had his money back. And most importantly, Heck knew the truth now. "I will be," Desmond said finally. "It's going to take time, but yes, I'll be okay." Dr. Paul walked over and placed a hand on Desmond's shoulder. "What you did took incredible courage and incredible patience. 40 days of watching that woman celebrate your death. I don't know many people who could have done that. I had to know," Desmond said simply. "If I had just confronted her about the message on her phone, she would have lied. She would have denied everything. I would never have known the truth about the sabotage breaks, about Elijah, about all of it. Sometimes the only way to expose a lie is to give it room to grow. Well, it certainly grew, Grace said with a bitter laugh. Monica couldn't help herself. She got greedy and careless. What happens now? Dr. Paul asked. Now? Desmond looked around the ballroom one more time. Now I rebuilt my life, my trust, my future. But first I need to deal with the legal mess. Monica and Elijah will be charged with attempted murder and fraud. There will be a trial. The media will go crazy. Are you ready for that? Grace asked. Once this story hits the news, you'll be famous. Everyone will want to interview you, the man who came back from the dead to expose his wife. Desmond Sidayed. I don't want to be famous. I just want justice and peace. You deserve both, Dr. Paul said firmly. The three of them spent the next hour cleaning up. They threw away the decorations, all those white flowers that Monica had bought with Desmond's money. They packed up the food that hadn't been eaten. They turned off the lights one by one. As they worked, Desmond thought about Monica. Where was she right now? Probably in a police cell, still in her white dress, finally facing the consequences of her actions. Did she regret what she had done? Or did she only regret getting caught? Desmond would probably never know, and maybe it didn't matter. Around midnight, Grace and Dr. Paul finally left. Desmond stood alone in his mansion, truly alone for the first time in 40 days. He walked through the empty rooms, seeing them with new eyes. This house had been a home once, a place full of love and hope. Then it had become a prison of lies, and now it was just a house empty, waiting to be filled with something new. Desmond went upstairs to the master bedroom, the bed where Monica had slept with Elijah. He couldn't sleep there. Not tonight, maybe not ever again. Instead, he went to a guest room and lay down on the bed, still wearing a suit. He was exhausted, physically, mentally, emotionally drained. But as he closed his eyes, Desmond felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. The test was over. The truth was revealed, and he was free. The media storm. By Sunday morning, the story had exploded across every news channel, website, and social media platform in the city. Millionaire fakes death to expose wife's murder plot. Widow's shocking betrayal. The engagement party that ended in handcuffs. Man returns from the dead at his wife's engagement party to her lover. Desmond's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, journalists, TV producers, everyone wanted an interview. Everyone wanted to hear the story directly from him. Grace came over early that morning with coffee and newspapers. She spread them across the dining table, and together, they looked at the headlines. "You're famous," Grace said, pointing to a newspaper with Desmond's photo on the front page. "The whole world is talking about you." Desmond picked up one of the papers and read the article. It was mostly accurate, though some details were exaggerated. The writer called him a genius and a master strategist. They called Monica a black widow and a cold-blooded killer. "They're making it sound like a movie," Desmond said, putting down the paper. "It is like a movie," Grace replied. "Desmondine, this is the craziest thing that's happened to this city in years." Of course, people are obsessed with it. Desmond's phone rang again. He looked at the screen. It was a producer from a major television network asking him to appear on their morning show. He declined the call. "You're going to have to talk eventually," Grace said gently. "People want to hear your side of the story." "I know, but not yet. Right now, I just want to focus on the legal case, making sure Monica and Elijah actually face consequences for what they did." As if on cue, Desmond's lawyer, Mr. Harrison, called. "Mr. Adams, good morning. I hope you got some rest last night." Mr. Harrison said, "Not much, but I'm managing." "What's the situation?" "Well, both Monica and Elijah are being held without bail. The prosecutor is charging them with conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, and embezzlement. The evidence you gathered, the videos, the audio recordings, the photographs of the sabotaged car, it's all admissible in court. The case against them is very strong." "How long until the trial?" Desmond asked. "Probably 4 to 6 months. These things take time. But in the meantime, I've already filed paperwork to freeze all of Monica's assets. She won't be able to touch any of your money or property. And I'm working on getting your company shares transferred back to you." Monica had already started the process of selling them, but we're reversing it. "Good. Thank you. Mr. Harrison, there's something else you should know." The lawyer continued, his voice becoming more serious. "Monica's lawyer contacted me this morning. She wants to negotiate a plea deal." Desmond felt his jaw tighten. "A plea deal already?" "Yes, she knows the evidence against her is overwhelming. She can't win this case if it goes to trial. So, she's offering to plead guilty to lesser charges in exchange for a reduced sentence." "What kind of reduced sentence?" "Her lawyer is asking for 5 years instead of 20 plus probation and restitution." 5 years. Monica had tried to kill him, and she might only get 5 years. "What do you think I should do?" Desmond asked. Mr. Harrison was quiet for a moment. "That's not a legal question, Mr. Adams. That's a personal one. Legally, I can tell you that if we go to trial, we'll almost certainly win, and Monica will get the full 20 years. But trials are expensive, time-consuming, and emotionally draining. They also put your private life on public display, even more than it already is. A plea deal would mean closure. You could move on faster. Desmond thought about it. Part of him wanted Monica to suffer the maximum penalty. She deserved it. She had tried to murder him, but another part of him just wanted this to be over. He wanted to move forward with his life. He didn't want to spend the next year sitting in a courtroom reliving the betrayal over and over. "Let me think about it," Desmond said finally. "I'll call you back in a few days." After hanging up, Desmond told Grace about the plea deal offer. 5 years, Grace said angrily. "That's nothing. She should rot in prison for 20 years. "I know," Desmond said quietly. "But would 20 years change anything? Would it make me feel better? Would it undo what she did?" Grace opened her mouth to argue, then stopped. She looked at her brother carefully. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe I don't need revenge. Maybe I just need justice. And if justice means Monica admits what she did, goes to prison, and I can move on with my life faster, maybe that's enough." Grace reached across the table and took his hand. "Whatever you decide, I'll support you. But Desmond, don't let her off easy just because you're tired. You deserve better than that." "I know. I'll think about it carefully. I promise." The rest of the day was a blur of phone calls, emails, and messages, friends checking in, business associates congratulating him, even people he hadn't talked to in years reaching out to say they had heard the news. Everyone had an opinion about what Desmond should do. Some said he should write a book. Others said he should do a TV interview and tell the world his story. A few people even suggested he should forgive Monica and move on completely. But Desmond ignored most of the advice. Only he knew what he needed. Only he understood the depth of the betrayal and the pain it had caused. By evening, Desmond was exhausted again. He went back to the guest room. He still couldn't bring himself to sleep in the master bedroom and lay down. His phone buzzed one more time. It was a text from an unknown number. He almost didn't open it, but curiosity got the better of him. The message said, "Mr. Adams, this is Detective Rodriguez. I thought you should know. We found the mechanic who sabotaged your car. His name is Tony Miller. He's confessed to everything. Monica paid him $10,000 to cut your brake lines. He's been arrested and is cooperating with the investigation. Just wanted to keep you informed." Desmond stared at the message. $10,000. That's what his life was worth to Monica. $10,000 paid to a stranger to kill him. He put down his phone and closed his eyes. Tomorrow he would start rebuilding. Tomorrow he would make decisions about the plea deal in the future. But tonight he just wanted tourist. The storm was passing, and slowly, painfully, Desmond was beginning to heal. A week passed then too. The media attention slowly died down as other stories took over the headlines. But Desmond's life remained changed forever. He spent most of his time working with his lawyer, organizing his finances and trying to return to normal. But what was normal anymore? His marriage was over. His trust was shattered. His home felt different. Grace visited him every day, making sure he ate and slept. She was worried about him. Desmond had lost weight, and the dark circles under his eyes had gotten worse. "You need to make a decision about the plea deal," Grace told him. One afternoon, they were sitting in Desmond's office, the same office where this whole plan had started months ago. "Monica's lawyer is waiting for an answer." Desmond stared out the window at the city below. "I've been thinking about it constantly. Every day I go back and forth. What's holding you back? If I accept the plea deal, Monica gets 5 years. 5 years for trying to murder me. That feels too light, Grace. Like she's getting away with it. But if you reject it and go to trial, you'll spend the next year in courtrooms. Every detail of your marriage will be examined. Reporters will follow you everywhere. Is that what you want?" Desmond was quiet for a long moment. "No, I don't want that. I've already lost enough time to Monica. I don't want to give her any more of my life. So, what are you going to do?" Desmond turned from the window and looked at his sister. "I'm going to accept the plea deal, but on one condition." "What condition?" "Monica has to stand up in court and confess everything. Every lie, every betrayal, the sabotage breaks, the affair with Elijah, the plan to steal my money. She's to say it all out loud in front of a judge in a courtroom full of people. No hiding, no excuses, complete honesty." Grace smiled. "I think that's perfect. Public confession is its own kind of punishment." Desmond called Mr. Harrison and told him the decision. The lawyer agreed to add the confession requirement to the plea deal terms. "Monica won't like it," Mr. Harrison warned. "She'll have to admit to some very ugly things publicly." "I know," Desmond said, "but if she wants the reduced sentence, she'll have to do it. Truth is the price of mercy." 2 days later, Mr. Harrison called back. Monica agreed. She'll make the full confession in court next Friday. The judge has scheduled a hearing. Friday arrived with gray skies and light rain. Desmond dressed in a simple black suit and drove to the courthouse with Grace by his side. The courtroom was packed. Reporters filled the back rows. Some of Desmond's friends were there to support him. And in the front, wearing an orange prison jumpsuit, sat Monica. She looked different. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup, no jewelry, no designer clothes. She looked small and ordinary, not at all like the glamorous woman who had thrown an engagement party in a white dress. When Monica saw Desmond enter, she looked down at her hands immediately. She couldn't meet his eyes. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Miller, called the court to order. "We're here today for the plea hearing of Monica Adams." Judge Miller said, "Mrs. Adams, you've agreed to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and fraud. Is that correct?" "Yes, Your Honor," Monica said quietly. "Before I accept your plea, Mr. Adams has requested that you make a full confession of your crimes. You've agreed to this requirement. Is that also correct?" Monica swallowed hard. "Yes, Your Honor." "Then please proceed and remember you're under oath. Everything you say must be the complete truth." Monica stood up slowly. Her hands were shaking. She took a deep breath and began to speak. "My name is Monica Adams. I've been married to Desmond Adams for 7 years. Her voice was barely a whisper at first, but the microphone picked it up. I need to confess to some terrible things I've done." The courtroom was completely silent. Everyone leaned forward, listening. "When I married Desmond, I told him I loved him, but that wasn't entirely true. I loved his money, his lifestyle, his status. He gave me everything I asked for. Expensive clothes, jewelry, cars, trips to beautiful places. But it was never enough. I always wanted more." Monica's voice cracked, but she continued. "About 2 years ago, I met a man named Elijah Morrison at a business event. We started talking. Then we started meeting secretly. We had an affair. For 2 years, I betrayed my husband with this man." Desmond sat still in his chair, listening. Hearing her say it out loud, finally admitting the truth, felt both painful and freeing. "Last year, Elijah and I started planning how to be together. We wanted to run away with Desmond's money, but we couldn't just leave. Desmond would have found us. We needed him. We needed him to be gone permanently." The courtroom gasped. Even though everyone already knew this part, hearing Monica admit it was shocking. "So, I found a mechanic named Tony Miller. I paid him $10,000 to sabotage my husband's car. I asked him to cut the brake lines in a way that would make them fail after about 2 hours of driving. I wanted it to look like an accident. I wanted Desmond to crash and die on the highway." A few people in the courtroom made sounds of disgust. Monica's lawyer looked uncomfortable. "But Desmond didn't die," Monica continued, her voice shaking more now. "Instead, he faked his own death to test me. And I failed that test in every possible way." She finally looked up at Desmond. Tears were streaming down her face. "When I heard that Desmond had died in a car accident, I wasn't sad. I was happy. I celebrated. I called Elijah and told him we had one. I started planning how to steal all of Desmond's money. I brought Elijah into our home, into our bedroom. I threw an engagement party 40 days after the funeral using Desmond's money to pay for it." Monica's voice broke completely now. She was sobbing. "I'm a terrible person. I tried to murder the man who loved me, the man who gave me everything. And I don't have any good excuse. I was greedy. I was selfish. I was cruel. And I'm so sorry." She looked at Desmond again. "Desmond, I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know what I did to you will haunt me for the rest of my life. You deserved so much better than me." Monica sat down, covering her face with her hands, crying. Judge Miller waited a moment, then spoke. "Mrs. Adams, thank you for your confession. This court accepts your guilty plea. You will be sentenced to 5 years in prison, followed by 5 years of probation. You will also pay restitution to Mr. Adams in the amount of $500,000 for emotional damages. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor," Monica whispered. "Good. Court is adjourned." The judge banged her gavel, and it was done. Officers led Monica out of the courtroom. She looked back at Desmond one last time, her eyes red and swollen from crying. Desmond watched her go and felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, not even sadness. Just emptiness, where his love for her used to be. New beginnings. 3 months later, life had settled into a new rhythm for Desmond. Monica was in prison. Elijah was also serving time. He got 7 years for his role in the conspiracy. The mechanic, Tony Miller, received 3 years. All 3 of them were paying for their crimes. Desmond's company was thriving again. With Monica's shares returned to him, he had full control. His business partners respected him even more now, impressed by how he had handled the situation. The mansion was different now. Desmond had redecorated everything. New furniture, new paint, new curtains. He wanted to erase every trace of Monica from his home. The master bedroom where she had betrayed him was now a home office. He slept in a different room entirely. On a sunny Saturday morning, Desmond sat in his garden drinking coffee. The garden had always been his favorite place, peaceful and quiet, with flowers everywhere and birds singing in the trees. Grace came to visit, bringing fresh pastries from the bakery downtown. "You look better," she said, sitting beside him. "Healthier. The circles under your eyes are almost gone." "I feel better," Desmond admitted. "For the first time in months, I actually feel like myself again." "Have you thought about dating?" Grace asked carefully. "I know it's too soon, but eventually. Eventually, maybe," Desmond interrupted gently. "But not now. I need to learn to trust again first, and that's going to take time." Grace nodded. "I understand. What about the mansion? Are you going to keep living here? There are a lot of memories in this place." Desmond looked back at the huge house behind them. "You know, I've been thinking about that. This house was built for a family, but I'm just one person now. Maybe it's time for a change." "You're thinking of selling it?" "Maybe. Or maybe I'll turn it into something useful. A community center, a school. Something that helps people. That would be a good way to turn something painful into something positive." Grace smiled. "That's a beautiful idea, Desmond. Monica tried to take everything from you, but instead you're thinking about giving back. That shows who you really are." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, enjoying the morning sun and the peaceful garden. "Can I ask you something?" Grace finally said. "Of course. Was it worth it faking your death watching Monica for 40 days, exposing her in front of everyone? Was it worth all the pain?" Desmond thought about the question seriously. "Yes," he said after a moment, "it was worth it. If I hadn't done it, I would have spent the rest of my life wondering, was she really trying to hurt me? Was the affair real? Did she ever love me? Now I know the truth. And the truth, as painful as it was, set me free. You're a strong man, Desmond." "I didn't feel strong. Most days I felt broken, but I survived and now I'm healing." His phone buzzed with a message. It was from Dr. Paul. "Lunch tomorrow. Would love to catch up and hear how you're doing." Desmond smiled and texted back, "Yes, lunch sounds great. Thank you for everything, my friend." Life was moving forward slowly but surely. That evening, as the sun set over the city, Desmond stood on his balcony, looking at the view. The same view he had looked at thousands of times before, but somehow it looked different now. Brighter, more beautiful. He thought about Monica sitting in a prison cell somewhere. He wondered if she thought about him, if she regretted her choices, if she understood what she had thrown away. But those thoughts didn't hurt anymore. They were just facts, things that had happened, part of history, but not the end of it. Desmond had learned important lessons from this experience. He learned that love without trust is just an illusion. He learned that money can bring comfort, but it can also bring danger. He learned that sometimes the only way to find truth is to create space for lies to reveal themselves. But most importantly, he learned that he was stronger than he ever knew. Strong enough to face betrayal. Strong enough to seek justice instead of revenge. Strong enough to choose healing over bitterness. The man who had faked his death was gone. That version of Desmond, broken, suspicious, desperate for answers, had died in a way. And in his place stood someone new, someone wiser. Someone scarred but not destroyed. Someone ready to build a new life on the foundation of truth. A year after the engagement party that shocked the city, Desmond stood in front of the Adams Community Center, cutting the ribbon for its grand opening. He had sold the mansion, too many bad memories, and used the money to build this place. A center where people could learn new skills, get job training, and find support when they needed it. "This building represents new beginnings," Desmond said to the crowd gathered for the opening ceremony. "It represents the idea that from pain and betrayal, we can create something good, something that helps others." The crowd applauded. Grace stood in the front row, tears in her eyes, proud of her brother. After the ceremony, as people toured the new building, a young reporter approached Desmond. "Mr. Adams, can I ask you one question?" The reporter said. "Sure," Desmond agreed. "If you could go back in time and change things, maybe not marry Monica at all or catch her betrayal earlier, would you?" Desmond thought about it for a moment. "No," he said finally. "I wouldn't change anything because every experience, even the painful ones, taught me something valuable. Monica's betrayal taught me to value honesty and loyalty. It taught me that love must be built on truth. And it brought me here to this moment, creating something that will help hundreds of people." The reporter smiled. "That's a beautiful perspective. Thank you, Mr. Adams." As the reporter walked away, Desmond looked around at the community center, at the people laughing and talking, at the children running through the hallways, at the hope and possibility filling the air. Monica had wanted his death. She had planned it, celebrated it, built her dreams on top of it, but Desmond had come back to life. Not just physically by revealing he wasn't dead, but emotionally and spiritually too. He had come back stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. He had turned betrayal into justice, pain into purpose, death into life. And as the sun set on this new chapter, Desmond smiled. He was finally free. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. Like, share,